Never gonna be able to remember that. So I had some time, and I know I keep talking about the same stuff. It's hard not to kind of spin your wheels on everything going on. But yeah, I was like trying to make edited videos yesterday. I finally figured out if anybody uses CapCut, I figured out a way to work around how sometimes you can see it in my videos. Sometimes things are just like tiny for I couldn't figure it out because I'll make one video, everything comes out fine, it shows up the way it's supposed to on YouTube and it appears full screen when you put it on full screen. But I make a lot of videos the same exact, like all the exact same way, and then some don't show up right. So I found out if you're taking the screen capture, there's a save when you go to save to photos, there's an export to CapCut, which is an annoying workaround because you have to have the project open. But anyways, I figured that out, so at least now I won't have any more tiny videos. Hi, I am Connor. How are you? So TJ Sabula wanted to, I'll make a shorts about it. He didn't want to be interviewed, and I just felt a little wrong. Like the video I was putting together had this picture, which you could find the picture when you Google, but it still didn't feel right to like put his picture even in a YouTube video, honestly. Yeah, it just started. Fact Love, how are you? Or FCT Love. I don't know if that's what that stands for. I wanted to talk about TJ Sabullo for anybody who hasn't heard about him. He was or he still is, he's suspended with pay as of currently. The so anyways, he worked at the Ford plant that Trump, no, I'm not. I've married for 16 years. I am Connor. TJ Sabula is a man who was at the Ford plant in Michigan that Trump toured, what, the day before yesterday? And he yelled at him, "PEDO protector." Okay, I'm over a minute in. I don't think it matters as much on lives, but then I also think is the as much as I cuss, oh yeah, disclaimer, I cuss and we're talking about children being hurt in this. And so anyways, it was really nice to see, hi MJ, that somebody spoke up and said something to Trump's face. TJ said he was about 60 feet away from him. And in one day, he raised $810,000 on GoFundMe. That is when I used to work in auto manufacturing, we made Ford, Lexus, Toyota. I know Lexus and Toyota are like the same thing, okay? I've also made Honda and Kia parts. So and honestly, that's what makes me want to buy Hondas the rest of my life the most. Honestly, it's a shame. We did buy a car years ago that was American made because we wanted an American made car. But and I know there was a horrible recall with Toyota recently. Trust me, I get it. Did you guys know that Teslas are 17 times more likely to catch fire than a Ford Pinto? How do they keep getting away with this? Anyways, so TJ Sabula worked at the Ford plant Trump was touring. Most of you have probably, hello from Scotland, Robert said. Hey, that's so cool. What are you saying? No, it's not to Ivan. I'm sorry. I'll never forget my grandfather's last words to me right before he died. Are you still holding the ladder? Okay, Thelistone. Nothing's going on in the chat yet, chicks, I don't think. So TJ Sabullo shouted PEDO protector at Trump about 60 feet away from him. Trump didn't deny it. Of course, he's not gonna like if I was him, and I know I'm not him, but in a situation like that where he's trying to gaslight us all, because if you're still supporting Trump when it comes to these files, everybody wants to go back to Biden. Yeah, Biden is a PEDO protector too. Like that doesn't make what Trump's doing invalid right now. Trump has the opportunity. He's going against court orders. They released 1% of the files. There's so much to be said about all of this. And it's really nice to see somebody put his livelihood on the line and like say and like get supported in such a way. And hey, stop that GoFundMe at $810,000. Did you guys know that Charlie Kirk's family still has I don't know if it's GoFundMe or not, but they've been doing fundraising efforts ever since he passed, and they just keep upping the goal. People who are already multimillionaires, it's like they can't get enough. And then it's like the average working citizen, they'll stop at like 1.7 million, $810,000. I just think that that's really interesting right now. And we Rate Dogs made a great video. He's speaking out about this. It is a channel that's usually about dogs and like dogs that need to be fostered. And of course, people were getting irate with him for using his voice, but he put together a video that he uploaded yesterday. The shorts that I made with the veteran talking about how we expect more from civilians than we do police officers was from that video. He had a great video. It was great. I mean, if you can handle maybe hearing some things that you don't completely agree with, but it was very well thought out and put together. And I do appreciate when I see people like whatever platform you have, like World War III, the start of a civil war, whatever's going on now, I think we can all get past. Don't be political. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's going through so much. And I think if you have a platform, it's up to you. But like whatever your platform is, if you choose to speak out about what's going on right now, good for you. I uploaded a shorts with a veteran. Thank you. Greenland is a sensitive topic. Yeah, I was just watching. So the only I saw like a dozen Greenlanders say, no, this isn't for sale. We want to be independent from Denmark. We want like our small nation to remain a small nation. We don't want this. And one person from Greenland, and he was a politician. So it's like, all politicians are the same. Even if you're from some small Nordic country where you think people might be more down to earth, just like people seem to be like in Alaska. And then I know there's a lot of mental illness, like I think the suicide rates are even worse up there. So it's not all everybody's happy. I'm just saying there's a lot of resilient people that are really the type of people I feel like that are in Kentucky that really are like live and let live. Anyways, so TJ Sabula, Michigan, Ford plant Trump was there touring it. He said PEDO protector. Trump didn't deny anything. He just said FUCKU and flipped him off. And I didn't really realize why everybody talked about how tiny his hands were until I saw that damn, he does have some tiny hands. And it doesn't matter, but it was funny to me. I finally realized this. And it was it my own blinders I had on because I supported Trump. If you didn't know, I'm a registered independent, lean to the right. And I've heard that's what TJ is, although I didn't see that. Somebody just said that. I didn't see it being said from the interview the journalist did with him. But he is a father and a husband, and he wants to keep his family safe. So I was like, I don't want to make a video, even though his picture is out there. He looks like he could be anywhere like 30 to 40. He looks like one of those men that probably got gray early, like he has like silver looking hair, but he doesn't look not that all guys with gray hair look old, but you know what I'm trying to say. I am so happy to see that he did that, and I just wanna repeat this since there's more people. Charlie Kirk's family just keeps raising their GoFundMe or whatever donation thing they've got going on. Right now, the goal is at 6,000,000, and it's at 5 they've raised 5.5 million, and they just keep raising and raising and raising it and raking in more money. I don't understand why people want to give multimillionaires money when there's so many it really is. And, Christians, these people, aren't they I just can't. So, also, give him some time and he will show his face. I oh my gosh, I wouldn't wanna tell anybody what to do with their money, but he's up there in Michigan, I'm sure he knows. And with that much money, he could, like, start such a cool property somewhere in Michigan if that's what he wants, or anywhere, almost anywhere, not anywhere, but you know what I mean. He could definitely start a awesome property and be completely independent, especially if I was as outspoken as him. I would really wanna be off grid. Did you guys hear about how there was, like Lovely T was talking about it, and I fell asleep listening to it. Like, people at first reported it was Verizon phones were out, and then it was reported, like, all phones were out for a few hours. I moved back to Germany, Greenland not looking good for a stay, right? Chick said. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting to me. It really like, I'm just in awe at how anybody can make excuses for what he's doing. If he doesn't take it over, somebody else will take it over. That's not a good excuse, no. And, yeah, um, I've always said it from the beginning, I think it's a controlled demolition. I really don't like Trump and what he's doing, but we're just talking about a bunch of different subjects. I feel like my channel's been stuck on the same, like, topic for a while, and I apologize about that, but, uh, this, like, Jeffrey Epstein, it's just like every time the subject gets brought up, it seems like everybody involved does everything they can to make excuses, and it's so pervasive. Like, people need to understand PEDOs literally do run the world. That's the only thing that makes sense. Did you hear about the dad that tried to DRUG girls at a sleepover? It was his daughter, and I forget how many other 12-year-old girls. All day he had been with them. He took them out to get their nails done and different stuff. And then he tried to give them some kind of benzos. And one of these girls was only 70 pounds. He's giving them adult doses of an adult drug, like a drug that's only for two adults usually. I'm sure a lot of you heard that story. I'm sorry, I'm not in the chat more. Today, when I was walking down the street, I saw two female cops trying to handcuff a suspected guy, but it took them half an hour to do so because of the man's resistance. So this is concerning. So you sat there and watched it for a half an hour, Noah? Um, I would think if they were having that much trouble, my light just shut off. I think I might have to charge it. It's never just shut off. I would think if they were having that much trouble, they would have called for backup. You know what I mean? There's this crazy story. I guess it's like not gonna work. There was a cop, one man that couldn't apprehend another guy, and he was trying to gouge his eye out, and somebody, not a cop, a civilian, stopped and helped that cop. And if he didn't, that cop would have probably lost his eye. You know, it happens to male cops too. They get overpowered too, is my point. Yes, I have heard of Les Wexner, the rumor. Where does he live? In Columbus, Ohio? Where in Ohio does he live? He is the person that, like, in my opinion, made Epstein, right? Is he, hi, Alex, and hi, everybody else. Lazy dog, you should stream on Twitch or something because YouTube streams have terrible communities. So they're better. It's like less trolls on Twitch. Because I kind of invite it when I talk about certain topics, but it's like I really don't mind it, except I just wish they added to the conversation. I wish they would say more than F around and find out. Like I've made some really good shorts lately, guys, that showed like there is this 2014, or it might have been 2013, Border Patrol agents. It was studied how much they intentionally put themselves in front of moving vehicles in order to use deadly force. They did this so much that they came out with this new guideline that specifically says you're not allowed to shoot at a moving vehicle unless something other than the moving vehicle is threatening your life. It literally says that. And I have it in like two shorts. But the people that should read this, and like, I know Tim Wall signed into law, like law that says cops can do this at a vehicle accelerating toward. I do understand that they take more than one law into consideration. I'd imagine, especially with like a federal agent. But anyways, we know they're probably going to get away with whatever. But uh, I just think it's really interesting and something we should know. This is for our own good. Like you should know this if they come to your community. Like stay the fuck away from their cars. I saw a video where they pushed a man in front of a moving bus. um, where from in Kentucky? Tyler, I was born in Louisville. Oh, you're in Breckenridge. That's cool. I was born in Louisville and now we live way out in the country in South Central. I just tell people it's in between Greensburg and Somerset because I don't want to give away my location. Um, Pretty Patriot said ICE did their job. So this is my opinion, and you all are welcome to have your own opinions. It's just like nobody ever has anything to say back to. So if she was trying to run him over, why didn't she? Why did her car go completely 180 to the right? And if he had taken the life, that was such a dumb thing to say. If another life had been taken other than hers, completely innocent bystander, somebody that lived in the neighborhood, if because he incapacitated her and then her car unalived somebody, because that is how they train cops. Like you can find Reddit forums about this. It's just like comment after comment. This is the number one. It's kind of like gun safety. Rule number one is you don't point that GUN at anything unless you intend to destroy it. And it's like that with officer safety. Like you don't get in front of a vehicle with somebody behind the wheel. You don't ever do that. You literally never do that. There's no good reason to. You don't do it. They even suggest not to get behind. But if you do have to, walk from one side to the other, you do that instead of going to the front of it. If you see, like, hey, Gino, how are you doing? But everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. I just feel like he literally, the more I saw the video, it looked to me like he reached over the dash so he could shoot at her through the windshield. He wasn't scared of that. Honda pilots are like big boxes. If it hit him up here, it would have hit him lower and knocked him off the ground, in my opinion. It just makes no sense. And you can literally see him lean on the car. And there's somebody, YouTuber Daddy Wells, I clipped her in one of my videos where she's like taking up for the cop somewhat. She did say that she didn't think that Renee Good should have been unalived the way that she was, but she was also trying to be fair enough that was like, yeah, but we don't know what was going through his mind if he had PTSD or whatever. I think if you have PTSD from being dragged by a car, it makes no sense to walk around to the front of a car with a person behind it. Like he was a trainer too. He's been in that job for 10 years. He trains other people. So he should know these things. And it's just scary how untrained and inept a lot of them are. That's one of my biggest concerns. And I know, like, see, people aren't. I'm never gonna be most people's cup of tea because I'm like, I don't think what they're doing is right. I think it's inhumane. I also think like when that DoorDash driver ran and tried to take shelter in that woman's house, I felt bad for those Americans, and I'm like, shame on you. And I know she was panicked, but like, I wouldn't harbor an illegal immigrant and put all of my family in danger, you know. But at the same time, I don't think that they deserve to be I don't think they deserve to have no due process, to be handled the way that they are and treated as less than human. And this trickles down to, you haven't heard, like, lots of Native Americans are getting stopped because, and I've talked about this before, all of this. Is really interesting how people don't seem to understand that Hispanic people are indigenous too. Like, they're mixed race. Hispanic people are two races mixed together. And it's like, we're so, uh, it's just incredible. I'm not a fan of the racial profiling. Okay, so I didn't finish talking about how, okay, John McShane, you can think that if she didn't obstruct, it wouldn't happen. Simple. I said I wouldn't have been there. I don't think that she should have been there. But at the same time, I don't think it warrants the way that she was killed. I don't. And it is an overreach, like constitutionally, what they're doing. I posted a shorts, this man, and a crappy edited video. I need to take that shit down. This man was a veteran on vacation, never been arrested before. This man is a US citizen, veteran. I forget his name. It was something like Juan Martinez. Super calm in name, okay? And ICE got on the cruise ship they were on while he's on vacation with his wife, who was undressed in bed. And like one of the ICE officers jumped on her in bed, like because she was filming. But could you imagine waking up to people with guns drawn, handcuffing you or your spouse? Like, how disorienting. And he said that. And he, like I said, he's a veteran. He was brought to tears, and his wife said, "This isn't the country that we knew." Like, this is, he's like, "This isn't the country that I fought for." And I thought that like says it all. We're all, and then somebody who's trying to tell me how great ICE is, and he commented, or maybe not so, more so Trump, but he commented like, "Yeah, and what if she was pregnant?" You know, and I was like, "That's a good point. I didn't even think about that." And supposedly they did tackle a pregnant protester, and she was like, her head was like down and the rest of her body was up in the snow. That's really bad for your circulation as a pregnant woman to be like head down like that. And people kept telling them, she's pregnant," and they were still like pushing her down in the snow. And now her face is on a t-shirt and her family is traumatized. He didn't mean to shoot her. I think he meant to shoot her. He shot her 3 times point blank. You don't shoot somebody 3 times point blank unless you mean to. You can think whatever you want, but the mental gymnastics. So, and no, has anybody answered my question? What if her vehicle struck a completely innocent person and killed them? Would you then see the error in Jonathan Ross's ways? Did you guys know he had a "Don't tread on me" flag on his house? I'm sorry, but that's a joke. So the alternative action would have been for him to stay out of the way of the car, just like it's mentioned in so many. If you were open-minded enough to look at more than that one law Tim Walz signed into law in Minnesota in 2020, you would see so many policies regarding this, especially border patrols. They say you don't put yourself in the front of a car. Reason to put yourself in the front of a car. And in my opinion, you all think that they're heroes. My opinion is they are the domestic terrorists. He did that on purpose. He was sick of her shit. And his answer was to execute her in the street in broad daylight, 9:40 a.m. This is America now. And people are okay with this. There's still people making excuses for the veteran and his wife getting jumped on in bed on vacation in their fucking uh cruise ship cabin. It's like you literally have such big blinders on, you're not going to see it until there's like your own backyard's getting bombed, which is a bigger possibility now thanks to Trump. And everybody was saying Biden was the one that was going to start World War III. Remember that? We were all worried Biden was going to do all of this shit. And Frank, you're the hater saying hater site, hater site over and over again. That's like the epitome of being a hater. If you have PTSD, you shouldn't be serving for any policing force anymore. I agree, lazy dog. Hi, Black Cat. If you're still in here, how are you? Isis Dicey, the other Ting said, how many will you house in your house then? I already said I wouldn't house any of them. See, there's a big gray area between I want illegal immigrants or people that came here, like they were allowed to just walk across the border. I can put myself in their shoes and be like, in another lifetime, I might have been one of those people that took advantage of the open border. So I can actually empathize with the fact that they just walked across a border that was wide fucking open trying to get a better life. And I know some of them were like military age men from other countries. I don't think that their intentions were as good. Okay. And that freaks me out too. I know there was a lot of illegals. I had friends that OD'd the last few years. I know that they brought a lot of things bad with them. That doesn't mean that this is what they want you to think. They want you to be so riled up. Like people automatically say you're defending a criminal. I'm defending every American. You need to understand what's going on. And I've always said you should just comply. Most of the cases that I see where people are being manhandled by ICE, yeah, like 75% of them, they're just not complying. This man was leaving a courthouse and they're like, we have a warrant to arrest you. And he tries to escape. Like, you can't do that. We need to have talks with everybody in our lives, but especially the younger people. And this was another thing in We Rate Dogs video. He's talking about self regulation. Like, you need to know if you're a fight or flight person or a freeze. Like, you need to know this about yourself, and you need to be able to regulate yourself in those moments. And we all need to, like, I've always taught my kids, like, you comply with law enforcement no matter what. But this is unprecedented times where I'm afraid because my one of my kids looks darker than the others, and he's obviously not all white. I'm afraid that he's going to be detained and I'm not going to be able to get a hold of him. And like, it's just I never thought I would feel like that in America, and I know I'm not the only person that feels like that. And if ICE came to Kentucky, this small town, I really wouldn't. I don't think they have much to do here, and that's one reason we moved here. Because if you didn't know, we moved from a small town in southern Indiana that was. I mean, it started when I was like a 10-year-old, but especially in the last 10 years or so, it was all resources taken. Traffic was significantly worse, and it does suck to go to your kids' middle school open night and see Future Farmers of America advertising in Spanish. I've spoken out. I don't like going to my ATM and having to click English. In small town Kentucky, they still make me click English at the ATM. And like I said, there's not even that many. Well, there. Um, Charles gave me a moment. I'm running on one fourth a cup of coffee. Oh, Mr. Carey, just don't worry about them. I'm not going to be on here like a super long time. I just, I would appreciate if somebody brought to my attention, if anybody answers my question, if somebody who was completely innocent in the situation wasn't an agitator, was killed by Renee Good's car, would you then understand how egregious the actions that Jonathan Ross took were? Because I personally, and you look at that with an open mind, you'll see how he's literally reaching over the dash. It's a big box, you guys. You want me to show you? I have access to a Honda Pilot. It's a big box in the front. It makes absolutely no sense. It hit him like up what, like his abdomen. Now they're claiming internal bleeding or whatever. If that did cause, it's his own fault for literally trying to get in front of it. This has been studied before. Once again, Border Patrol agents. I have a shorts with the document in it. I'll give you the link if you comment and you want it. It was like studied that they had a lot of incidents where Border Patrol agents were stepping in front of vehicles and then using deadly force. And they put two and two together and were like, it seems like this is being done on purpose. They've literally studied this before to the point where they made a recommendation for Border Patrol agents that literally says, and this is in the policy, this is 10 years old, mind you. It's obviously been changed. This is like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. They knew that this was happening. Now imagine with everything going on since, I can't imagine it's gotten any better. Plenty of Border Patrol agents have spoken out about how racist they are, and that's another thing. There's been a lot of whistleblowers, and it's just crazy. It's like this is America. It's America. I've lived a half an hour away from the border. I've lived in South Florida, which is as close as it gets to being in another country in this country, in my opinion. I think that it's great that we're a melting pot. And even though I choose to live in small town Kentucky now in my middle age because it's cheap, really, honestly, we're on one income most of the time. Um, I still want to see if somebody's going to answer. I really hope that all the people making these insane comments are held to account. This lady was murdered. They probably won't be as outspoken when they actually see the unconstitutional overreach. I had a back and forth with a Canadian. They're like, "Well, I'm Canadian." They made this long ass comment, and these people always seem. Some of you never not. It's never a troll in the chat. It's never a troll in one of my chats, unfortunately. But when I'm in other comment sections, they'll make like these long, multi-paragraph comments talking about like Venezuela. It's always about everywhere but America and everything but Americans. And I'm like, but what about us? And he has to do this. You don't understand. He has to take Greenland. You don't understand. This is World War III. Don't you get it? And like, you don't have to convince me. I get it. I do agree with you on that. And I actually agree with you on a lot of what you say about like global policies and stuff, but you're still ignoring the fact that this is unconstitutional. She's like, in my opinion, it's not unconstitutional. I'm like, it's not your opinion. It's a fact. This is unconstitutional. All people on American soil are supposed to have due process. You want to take that away from illegal immigrants? I can wrap my mind around that. I can. But now I understand why a lot of people are staunchly against that too, because it is a slippery slope. Because then it turns into a US citizen veteran that's never done anything in his life to get in trouble with the law, being his wife being pounced on in bed while they're on vacation and she wasn't dressed, and you could tell that man, like the look on his face. So yeah, TJ Sabula is a real patriot. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know if I said it. I put up with Obama and Biden for 12 years. You can put up with Trump now. I wanted Trump to win, Bertha, Bear, whatever your name is. You guys don't know who you're talking to. I'm just not like literally. I said, I'm going to keep saying it. Trump derangement syndrome has mutated from people on the far left to people on the far right. If you still support Trump, you have TDS. I don't know how anybody could support this. And it's my channel. I'm allowed to say it. I'm the weak human. You sound like you're on meth. Well, I am drinking coffee, but I've never done meth. I really hope that all the. Oh, I already read that comment. She is smart and cute. Thank you, Flippers. I'm in my car, lady. Where are you? I'm at home, Tim. Kevin, first year, small town in Indiana, now small town in Kentucky. Now you live on the border, lady. You're a liar. Kevin, I'm 38 years old. I lived in, I was born in Louisville. I lived in Southern Indiana. I lived in Southern Florida and Southern California when I was a child. And then I moved back. Well, I lived in Florida, from teenagehood to like 18, 19. Then we moved back to Florida. And then we moved back to Kentucky. Then we moved back to Indiana because it was cheaper to buy a house there. If it's too expensive to buy a house where you live, if you can't be a homeowner where you are, if you are in the position to even consider it, there's a place where you can be a homeowner. Okay. You live somewhere where it's too expensive. So glad I'm on the other side of the world, lazy dog. I know. I saw compilations of people saying Appalachia's ready for a civil war, and it was a bunch of men punching themselves in the face. These are Trump supporters, people that literally punch themselves in the face. And like I said, I used to be one, but I don't understand how stay-at-home mom and wife, she was walking around the car recording when she drove at him. She brought it on herself, Tom said. You just said he was walking around the car. Tom, every single policy about this states never to get in front of a car, especially with somebody behind the wheel, Tom. He put himself in front of it, and it's been studied that Border Patrol agents used to do that a lot before in order to have an excuse to use deadly force. I don't have to say supposedly, allegedly. It's been studied, and the studies have been released to the public. And then it's like some third party company that studies, they also make the recommendations. And that's why the recommendation literally says, after it was studied, this, like I said, this was over 10 years ago. So I know things could have changed, but we all need to be mindful. This is what we're dealing with. And like things have only gotten worse and worse over the long years. And it said, do not ever shoot at a moving vehicle. It literally says a bullet isn't going to stop a 4,000-pound vehicle ever, hardly. Okay. So don't shoot at a moving vehicle unless something other than the moving vehicle is threatening your life. They're trying to tell him, like, you guys are using this as an excuse too much. It's not that hard to stay out of the way of the front of a vehicle. And I do believe Renee Good was in the wrong. I don't believe that she deserved to get murdered because of it. I don't see how more people don't see the nuance. I know a lot of them are probably bots, but yeah, I've seen like nobody comments anything about Trump or ICE on my videos that's talking about this border patrol. They studied it. Border patrol agents stepped in front of vehicles on purpose in order to use deadly force. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not the one that's stepping in front of vehicles as an excuse. I'm not racist. If you followed my channel at all, you would know that. Message retracted, but somebody gave me $2. I don't know if you retracted the $2, but thank you, whoever that was. Trump devotional syndrome. Nick Ori, I want to use that. Nika Ricci, can I use that? Yeah, Ronan, I used to support Trump. I always supported Trump. All three times he ran, I wanted him to win over the opponent. I'm a registered independent that leans towards the right, and I can actually think for myself. I can actually think none of the farmers around here are supporting Trump the same way that they were. He's really affecting so much that you guys are probably too far removed from. If you haven't seen it, there's plenty of Trump supporters that have said they regret it. Now, I did not vote for him because I just don't vote anymore. I've been like disillusioned with it. I went to vote for him the first time. I couldn't because they said I needed to bring my marriage certificate. This was the first time he ran. What was this, like 2016? They're like, since your last name has changed, you need to bring that certificate. And it was in a storage facility because we were in between homes getting ready to buy our first house. She literally effed around and found out. That was like that. Okay, I've heard that so much. The fact people think they can disrupt law enforcement. Who cares if she was a mom? She should have stayed home. The fact that people think disrupting law enforcement in America warrants 3 shots to the face says a lot about how far we've come. Okay. Even a veteran I made a shorts about, he said, this isn't the same country that I served for. This unconstitutional overreach is going to affect you. These people aren't being trained right. I would feel unsafe, even though I am a citizen. If ICE was anywhere near me, if they showed up at a gas station I was pumping gas at, I would want to leave immediately because, like, I have another shorts. They fell on the ice and their gun discharged. They're not safe with their guns. They're not trained that well. They took the training for like 5 to 6 months to 47 days, spread out over 8 weeks. That's unsafe for all of us, including them. Remember, not like a long time ago, this was months and months ago, I had a live talking about how they were apprehending somebody. They're just too, I'm sorry, it's obvious to me. They're like, they're looking to be aggressive with people. And they hurt their own, like this guy fell back and hit his head really hard. You could tell by the way he acted, his head was really hurt. And it broke my heart. Even though I hate these fucks, I still am human enough to like, see somebody else. And there's the back of his head. If you didn't know, the back of your head is much worse to hit than the side or the front. Of course, your temples, you know. Um, no man can stand this woman, says Adams. Yeah, like 85% of my audience is male. Nick Fuentes, Scotty, that's funny that you said Nick Fuentes. So you support somebody that is a pedo protector too. That's cool. A closeted pedo protector. It's kind of funny. I don't think there's anything wrong with being gay, but when I see flamboyant Nick Fuentes acting so freaking gay, and just knowing that a lot of his supporters are like, he is straight. Like you said, he's never been with a woman. He hates women, but he's straight. And he's like so freaking gay right in front of your face when you probably would make fun of other gay people for acting the exact same way and being openly gay. It just shows how moronic you all are. You probably have IQs of like, not that I think the IQs matter, but if you didn't know, Nick Fuentes said a few days ago that he said the same thing. And he's like, you're forcing me to say this, which was an interesting choice of words, I thought. Like Epstein was a Mossad agent. I agree with that. That doesn't mean he wasn't a pedo, though. He wasn't a pedo, though. What? What? So he has all these pictures, and I have a shorts of this too. There's pictures with children who are clearly well under 14 years old. Some are toddlers, and there's boys too. We're not talking about the boys at all. This isn't just teenage party girls like a lot of people want to make. And then Candace Owens called out Nick Fuentes for saying that bullshit, but she didn't call out Megan Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Carey. Yeah, oh, it's America. I thought, like, you know how hard it is to get your name changed? And then to get a license in your name, your married name and everything. Like that should have been enough for me to my voting registration to be fine, you know? If we didn't have an illegal problem, would she still be alive? Tara said. Well, I just once again, I think there's a big area. I don't think illegals warrant a woman who is being surrounded by masked people from unmarked cars shouting at her, and she's probably been told wrongfully or right. I don't know. Like I've seen so many attorneys say like what they're doing is illegal. This is illegal. This is illegal. They have no they have no right to this and that, and like they obviously have immunity, like JD Vance said. If it was Biden, anybody who supports this, I mean this, I would bet money on this. If this was Biden, if you support what ICE is doing, but it was being done under Biden's administration, I believe you would see it for what it was then. You would be like, oh my God, this is unconstitutional. Everybody on American soil deserves due process. And now it's trickling down to citizens, veterans at that. We have all this money to buy like fucking Greenland, but we have disabled homeless veterans. Hi, Moonshiner, if you're still in here, how are you doing? I know you might not still be in here. If she would have complied with the police telling her to get the fuck out of the car, she would still be alive today. What she did was committed suicide by cop by turning her car into a weapon. Okay, Maui Redman. Once again, I'm just going to keep repeating this as long as I have a platform. It's been studied that Border Patrol agents put themselves in front of moving vehicles in order to use deadly force. In my opinion, this is clearly what this man did. He executed her. He put himself in harm's way on purpose. They both put themselves in front of deadly weapons. They were both wrong. I don't think either should have resulted in a death. And what he did is like number one thing they train them not to do when it comes to being around a vehicle with an occupant behind the driver's wheel. Military, cops, law enforcement, border patrol. There's even in a border patrol manual from 10 years ago. Once again, I know things could have changed, but they made a recommendation. You're not allowed to shoot at a car that's moving unless something other than the vehicle is a threat to your life, meaning the person or a person in the car is pointing a gun at you or something like that. Because so many border patrol agents, this has been studied, they put themselves in harm's way. Don't tell me these people are doing similar things. In my opinion, that is what they're doing. And they need to be trained to de-escalate. They're only escalating things. And it's like I feel bad for people that don't want anything to do with it and have to deal with all this noise. Like one of my first thoughts was I always usually work second shift when I work. I couldn't imagine being in a city like that and trying to get sleep when there's people blowing whistles and everything. I don't think that the illegals they're blowing whistles for would do the same for them. There, I said it. I don't think that they would. But I also completely understand after seeing stupid shit like them falling and their gun discharging and the way that they just like brutalize people for not complying immediately with a masked man in an unmarked vehicle. Like that I understand why they might follow them around and start blowing whistles where they go. You know what I mean? I get it. I didn't get it at all at first. I'm like, yeah, this is she shouldn't have been there. She should have complied. I still don't think she deserved what she got. And I think it says a lot about you if you think that. And I also think you probably were taken aback by people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, right? And just because she was an agitator, I mean, you could say Charlie Kirk was an agitator of short sorts too. No, neither one of them deserved that. And it's gross when any human being dies to like celebrate it or make it into like a political win. That's how I feel about it. That woman burnt 2 of her kids with cigarettes. That has not been proven. I think that would have been proven by now, Josh. Where is one person you guys say that us women are so emotional and gossipy, we shouldn't be able to vote, but you spread the big you don't do any research. I swear men are like kings at not researching. I researched that, Josh. That's not been proven. It's a rumor one person posted on X, and then you took it and ran with it because you have to have a reason to justify somebody getting executed. And even so, that still wouldn't like justify what happened to Renee, okay? There's horrible shit. Okay, let's talk about that sleepover dad again. He just got 2 years. 2 years for drugging a bunch of girls. He said he was scared that they would sneak out and he wasn't trying to hurt them. Yeah, right. And the girls testified he was always like touchy-feely with them. And several times one of them had told him to quit touching her. We all know it wasn't that. And then he gets 2 years. I have no doubt it's because he's a rich white man. It's shit like this. It's like constant, constant, constant trying to make up for the obvious. There was a footage of an ICE agent, male agent, going into a porta potty with the female. Have you seen that? Every single place I see it posted, there's some guy saying, "Don't jump to conclusions." Have you ever been in a porta potty with another adult? I haven't, but we rented a porta potty for almost a year when we lived off grid. And that was a bigger, this is one of those like small construction site, like one of the smaller ones. And it's, I think that would be super duper hard to even help somebody assist them in what you would be assisting them in going to the restroom. If you're going to use that as an excuse, well, she was handcuffed. It's always some excuse. And when it comes to the sleepover girls, even this doctor that they interviewed, he called them young women. I'm so sick of this. That girl that got unalived by that David guy, probably, allegedly, obviously, they kept saying that she was like a year or two older than what she was. It's like this is so creepy. It's misogyny and it goes to children because children are an extension of women. Nobody gives a shit about the most vulnerable people. And that showed like this society does need to fall. We do need to start something completely new. I never thought I'd see so many people actually say these sentiments. And it's great. It's like there is some kind of great awakening. I feel like what is it? The great noticing. Is that a term from the Bible? Somebody was talking about the great noticing is happening. Brandon, you're welcome. I've been keeping Cliff in my prayers also, Mr. Carey said. So why didn't we cry when it was Obama? Adam said. I didn't agree with the way Obama bombed Syria. I have pins that I bought during Obama's, like, that said, like, stop bombing Syria. And I forget what else he did that I have no new wars, stop wars. I bought a shirt that looked like Star Wars, but it said stop wars because I knew what Obama was. Yeah, it started with the creation of the Federal Reserve, really, but, like, in our lifetimes, it's the ever since the Patriot Act, and people called it out. People said, "This is an erosion of our rights, and this is where we are 2 decades later," right? Like, people, like, rolling over, "But it's the illegals." I even in the town that was overrun with immigrants, they didn't bring tons of crime with them, they didn't, and I've always said that. It was annoying as fuck, but it wasn't a safety issue, and, now we have so I put my hair in these things because it's what makes it wavy. I don't walk around with these little buns in all day. Um So what are you doing to help? Why have you not fled the country yet? Well, what I'm doing to help is I have a platform where I've always said for years now, we need to all be as self-sustainable as possible and vote with our dollars. And yeah, I would love to be able to participate more the way we are right now, like paycheck to paycheck, like most Americans. It's really hard to plan to participate. There's like a January 20th walk out of work at 2 p.m. It just makes me happy to see more people or even suggesting this or emboldened to do it. Like something's got to change. And I don't know what, like leaving my country. I am Swiss and Colombian on one side. Yeah, if I knew people in Switzerland or Colombia, I would see, and I had the money to, I would seriously think about moving to one of those places. Nothing great about flooring it with a man standing in front of you. SUV has an illegal Zognogerson. Yeah, but it's the overreach of ICE. For instance, they detained a man on vacation on a cruise ship that has a really common last name. And they jumped on his wife naked in bed or undressed. I don't know in what state of undress she was, but these people were traumatized from it. It was a complete case of mistaken identity. Nobody said, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you like give people immunity and just like let them do whatever because everybody has all this hate in their hearts for illegals. And it's just a joke. And now we have Native Americans being told to go back to where they came from because people are so fucking ignorant. My whole life, I've had people ask me like what I am and why is your hair so dark? Is a question I've gotten from a lot of white people in Indiana. Honestly, the most racist place I ever lived was Indiana, home of the Ku Klux Klan. It kind of makes sense. I think there's less racist people, but I've been told Eastern Kentucky is pretty bad and racist. And I'm not trying to claim at all that I know what people who are actually minorities go through, but I'm saying I've gotten a taste of how people treat people, and it's fucking stupid. You judge people because they're brown, you're stupid. Where's the rest of the Epstein files, right, Jason? More people will get hurt. Unfortunately, yes, boo boo. More, and even when I posted your thing about leaving, sorry, I hope that you can if that's what you want. The video I posted about the citizen being detained, case of mistaken identity, like his wife said, he's a registered, a concealed permit. He's like got a passport. There's so many ways they could have verified this man's identity. And he said one of the ICE agents even alluded to they knew it wasn't him the whole time. Like that one at least knew it wasn't him. Still no apology. Like they don't want to like that's abusive people. This is like literally abusive. I felt like it during COVID too. It's government. No government is good. No government will ever be good. It's just the way it is. Like no government can be good. So the only thing you can do really is like build your own life as much as possible and concentrate on that. And that's why I really want to have a farm. Please leave. We don't want you, Jacob said. Ooh. Um, I'm retarded because I can actually research and point out stuff that makes you guys, your cognitive dissonance feel a little bit worse. Border agents have literally been studied putting themselves in front of moving vehicles in order so they could use deadly force. And this is what I feel like this guy did. Middle-aged men try not to be fearmongers, level impossible, Rimeting said. I can go anywhere, Yami said. That's good. You won't leave. I'll cope and talk. You're pathetic. I don't have any money to leave. I didn't say I was going to leave. I said if I did have more money and I knew people somewhere, it would be really horrible to move somewhere where you literally know nobody and you don't know the language. And I've tried to learn Spanish before. I can't conjugate the verbs. I can't. And this is it's really interesting. I'm talking about like I'm concerned for all American citizens, even the ones that don't get it at all and seem to think like I'm the bad person here saying this is unconstitutional and it is affecting citizens. It's affecting people that don't deserve to be detained by ICE at all. They aren't being trained properly. It could affect you. It's important to know if somebody in your family goes missing. This is the kind of shit that happened to my family in Colombia in the 90s. Family members would just go missing. They never see them again. And if you're okay with that happening to other people on American soil, I can't teach you. Uh, who was it on the Wizard of Oz that needed a heart? I can't give you a heart, you know what I mean? Part of what makes women emotionally intelligent is our empathy, and you need to quit acting like we're too emotional. And it was like one live I did, I wasn't I mean, I was a little like, heated, and then somebody was like, "She's gonna cry." Kept saying that, "She's gonna cry. She's gonna cry." It's like it's so creepy how many of you people um don't seem to understand. Men commit 97% of, or I'm sorry, 93% of violent crimes. So if anybody is like out of control of their emotions, it's clearly the gender that commits 93% of violent and aggressive crimes, right? But we being able to see the human side of things, like we balance it out. Like I don't think women only should be in power. I think there needs to be more women, and like the care of women is something we all need. I could not imagine a planet with only men. Could you imagine what that would turn into? Think about what happens in prisons. And then when women make their own societies, which has happened like in villages in Africa where they want to escape the abuse, the FGM that's going on where they come from, they tend to have super safe communities that educate all the children around them, like all the neighboring tribes send their kids to school because I guess they don't have schools. But when women make communities, this happened over and over, okay? And then I did see one matriarchal community in China, which is like this ancient, it's really interesting. They like call it like walking husbands. Like they get married, but the man never lives with them. They live like in a house. It's like the grandma and the daughters and the aunts and the sisters all live in the house raising their kids. Anyways, it took my parents more than 20 years to become US citizens, Gino said. Gino, I'm glad that they are. So I was talking about a woman who was a legal resident from Ireland. It's just interesting the mental gymnastics people go through. Well, she should have become a US citizen. And I was like, well, that costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. Who knows why she wasn't? She probably thought she was safe, especially being married to one, to just renew her green card every 10 years. And she had permanent resident status. But it's always like, so then I found the story, the guy that was the veteran on vacation with his wife, and his wife getting jumped on in bed. If that doesn't concern you, this is America. They've done a really good job between the pharmaceuticals and I don't know, the fluoride in the water, the shit they're spraying in the air. They've done a really good job making people dumb down and just like not care. I post that video and people are like, so what? It needs to happen. And all I hear is bah, bah. And I haven't felt like that since COVID. It's the exact same thing. The most dangerous time to leave a relationship. Oh, thank you, Pyramid. The most dangerous time in a relationship is when you're leaving. And that's like what's going on right now. They knew that they were going to come to, things were going to come to a head. You can't keep siphoning everything off of us. We have nothing left to siphon off of. And like people are going to take their civil unrest to the streets, just the state of the economy. And that I thoroughly believe they're trying to send a message to scare us out of standing up for our own rights, regardless of illegal immigrants. I'm talking about like the nurses, 15,000 nurses that are on strike in New York City. I don't know if they still are or not, and, like, things like that, they know that that is gonna just keep happening more and more because all of these systems are unsustainable. I had major surgery last year. I was in the hospital for less than 2 hours. They sent me home. I was so drugged, and she even said when she was giving me the aftercare instructions, she's like, "You're not gonna remember any of this, so you need to remember this," to my sister. I'm like, "Why would you, like, not just give me a little bit more time?" Now, if I ever have surgery again, I'm gonna just act like I'm out of it. I'm just gonna, like, act like I'm not awake for a few hours till I'm not so groggy. But I know that's not the nurse's fault. And I've seen some shorts. There's a doctor on here that's outspoken about how she like gets surgery cases canceled because United Healthcare refuses to put her in network at the hospital she works at the most. And they're always like moving her shit around, even though she has a perfectly fine operating room right where she's at. And these are women with breast cancer she's trying to take care of. And there was a clause in my surgery that said somebody that sold the hospital the equipment they're using might be in the room during your surgery, and they might tell the doctor how to use that robot thing performing your surgery, but they don't have anything to do with your surgery. I was like, "What?" Eh, and I asked the doctor that, "Is there gonna be a pharma salesman in the room?" Because that clause about how, like, they could instruct you during surgery, that freaked me out, you know? Mm, it is, she can't do it but because language barriers, but believes we need to deal with it from immigrants, Jay said. No, I'm not a fucking idiot that thinks that this is the only way, this overcorrection. I don't agree with how they had the border open. I don't agree with a militarized police state. Do you not see what's going on? They did this all on purpose. It's two sides of the same coin. The government isn't here for you. They don't care about you. Is that not obvious by now? Trump canceling the ACA and then saying he's going to give us money to put into healthcare. That's what Obamacare was. What is He's literally canceled Obamacare to then make us that sounds like wasn't that what Obamacare was? They technically gave you a subsidy, you just didn't get it, but then it made your taxes I had it 1 year, so I know from experience, it made your taxes incredibly difficult to do. You had to, like, do a shit ton of math, I hated it. Every solution you have involves you doing nothing more than sitting on your ass demanding actions out of others. How am I demanding actions out of others when I said I don't think that people should be not complying? Leo qualified immunity was never intended by founders, Joe said. Yes, law enforcement officer qualified immunity was never intended by founders. I think that's the exact opposite of what our founding fathers would want, and they're definitely turning in their graves. You're right. Spanish is the easiest language to learn, so that says how stupid you are. No, it's not, Hookah. No, it's not. And to conjugate the verbs is something that, like, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Every verb has different endings, and there's like a lot of different endings. It's not like the same 4 endings, you know? Must hate having to work. That was your Colombian. You spelled Colombian wrong, Mark of Minnesota, drug team. Oh, like that's the first time I've ever heard somebody make a joke about Colombia and drugs. How original. Like I haven't heard that like all 40 years of my life. Um, came here legally and you can stay, Phoenix. It's like it's the same whoever thinks they're, like, pulling one over by having no nuance and just trolling chats like this, you only make yourself look like a fucking NCP. Isn't that PC, PC. It's literally what's been made with the media propaganda. I didn't ever like participate in social media. I know YouTube technically is a form of social media, but you know it's different. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook for years now. Um, I never had Instagram. I had X, and when Elon bought it, I was all about that, and I joined it, and I realized what a cesspool it was. The day I joined it was when they took adult media off of it. When I first joined it, you just be scrolling through and see corn and I swear that's what's wrong with, most men. And women are also being brain damaged by social media, so the internet's affecting us all. Steven gets no motion and is scared of women, Riley said. Starry, I'm heat sensitive. I need cooler climates. Yeah, Starry, the older I get, the more I'm like, huh, I could move up to Michigan or something. Mark, I know there's a lot of cocaine that comes from Colombia, and you're probably one of those idiots that thinks it's all just, I'm sorry, I'm being too mean. You're probably one of those people that doesn't realize how it's like the politicians you vote for, even though Trump doesn't drink. You don't think he's one of the biggest he literally let the guy from Honduras out of prison who was in there for 45 years because he was such a proponent about smuggling cocaine. I'm assuming you're a President Trump supporter. You want to talk shit about Colombia and cocaine? It's Trump is also in bed with coke dealers, so too many single mothers out here for women's intuition to be real 2 months later, because it's always the woman's fault. It's never the guy that leaves and takes no accountability for the children that he makes like 80% of the time, right? He was already in front of the car. No, nobody is missing. You're just repeating the same talking points heard on the news. There was a person from New York City Council taken, and the woman that worked for New York City Council said, if me, somebody who works in the government, can't get a hold of them, what do people with family members like? How do they feel, and what do they do? That's no due process. You guys can't think. You literally like our attention spans are shorter. I'm the same way. Like you can't think for yourselves. You're not going to change my mind saying stuff like that. He was already in front of the car because he was a fucking idiot going against all protocols. Every single policy regarding this says the same thing. Don't put yourself in front of a vehicle. Oh my gosh, especially when there's somebody behind the wheel. Law enforcement officers, all of them. And Nobody can say something. Everybody has something to say to, well, they should have been a legal citizen. Legal residents don't matter. Okay, well, what about the veteran who was a legal citizen? It's okay. It needs to be done. Now I understand why shit went down the way that it did in Germany. And I know a lot of people make that comparison. Lately, I've seen a few Black women make the comparison to slave capturers. And I think that's really interesting. And yeah, as somebody who's not racist, I see it for what it is. I don't like white only towns in America. I don't like uh, people with impunity, law enforcement officers with weapons that have complete unconstitutional overreach over all of us. No, it's rough living in America. Everything is expensive. I have bullet holes in my car. Stock in California is no joke, Gino said. Oh, Gino, I'm sorry to hear that. Most of the drugs people are addicted to are the Suboxone you get from your American pharmacist roommate. Well, yeah, they did create the opiate epidemic, and now nobody can get good I shouldn't say nobody. Most of us that need pain relief can't get it when we need it. It sucks. I don't blame anybody for taking any mind-altering substance in this world. 2% commit 99% crimes. What are you saying that about, Matthew? That's not a valid statistic. Um, Imma get 2 houses in southern states, Yami said. I hope you do that, Yami. Jason, the ones who work forces are the same who burned crosses. Rage against the machine, Jason said. Oh, that's pretty poignant. And I've said this so many times, the white only town, the woman that called the little boy the N-word at the playground for taking a fucking applesauce pouch, that's what it was. It was a fucking applesauce pouch. And I didn't think there was that many racists. And my whole life, people have talked shit about Kentucky, my whole life. And when I moved here, I'm like, I feel like people are more open. Um, it's like, especially out in the country, you have like a little bit of land, like everybody respects each other as like landowners and does favors for each other and kind of like keeps to themselves in a good way. But like, it's nice to know your neighbors too. It's just more of a community than I've ever felt. And I'm just like the farthest away from people that I've lived too. I think there is something to that. I don't think it's like good fences as much as it is like a good amount of land. Everybody deserves that. Everybody would be happier if they had more of that. And I know maybe not literally everybody, some people don't, but I'm telling you, it is to have your own little piece of land is something that makes you feel wealthy in a certain kind of way. We used to own 23 acres, but now we only own one. What about male immigrants? What about them, Phineas? I don't know what you mean by that. Um, Look at how those matriarchal societies are. They gone dust membered. No, they're not. I tried to make a video about it and somebody copyrighted me. This is modern day, still going on. The one in China is very like old and ancient, and they still do these customs, and like the men live separately from the women. I think they've got it right. And then the ones in Africa were ones that were all like made in the last few decades that are doing great. And like I said, they focus on education because that's what a matriarchy is. It doesn't have men, women, children. It centers children. Like, could you imagine if the whole world really truly centered children? There wouldn't be the shit going on with the Epstein files right now. Um, and I don't know, like, the people that commit 93% of violent crimes, it's not really a win to say that you dominate and oppress women every chance you get. You know that, right? Because before we had agriculture and communities that were more settled and like men decided, I'm going to hoard resources. I'm going to make it so they need me and my resources. We were pretty equal. If anything, women were, they say grandmothers were the most skilled hunters, and that makes sense because we're one of 3. I know people that watch me regularly are probably like, "Stop fucking saying this." We're one of 3 mammals that evolved to have menopause. We're one of 3 mammals on the planet that evolved to, be infertile the last quarter of our lives because we were so valuable outside of our fertility, and now all anybody wants to do is focus about how we are only valuable when we are the most fertile and the most beautiful, and, I think that's also another reason the society needs to fall. It doesn't serve anybody in any good way, and men are only valued for what they can make, money wise. Men are only valued for what they can earn, what they can provide. And meanwhile, it's like wage stagnation. Now you're excusing that because the victim's language you don't approve of doesn't matter if it's applesauce and kids today, tomorrow. It's what we see reported in the statistics. You're excusing a little boy grabbing an applesauce pouch at a playground. for a grown woman to call him names like that. I'm not the one in the wrong, okay? She could have corrected him without being like that. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have been like, "Hey, that's not yours, that's mine." But that's also why you don't leave shit just like on. From my interpretation, it was like her bag that was on the playground equipment and she walked away from it. You're probably one of those people that if you do have kids, you take them to the playground with toys and you tell them, you don't have to share your toys. Don't share your toys with the other kids. And then those little kids are like, no, you can't play with my toys. I have like 20 of them, but you can't touch any of them. I know you. Um, Fucking stupid. You would take land and property from people who have had it already. All right, Nick P. What weren't the Hatfields and the McCoys from Kentucky? Yes, Mark. Farther east than we are. Matriarchy never existed. How do you know that, Slav? Are you God? Sumerian tablets stated that it used to be female dominant, and this is energy because it's a law of the universe. Everything is female, feminine, and masculine. Every man has a feminine side to him. Every woman has a masculine side to her. Carl Jung, one of the most well-known psychologists, described this as the anima and animus. Okay, so a man did it. A man talked about this almost 100 years ago. And there is a fine balance between the two when things are ideal. And in my opinion, all the history that we know of, or most of it at least, most of what they tell us, is the male dominated. And that's why, like, that doesn't mean literally men, it's masculine energy. It is why women sell themselves and make sex a commodity. That is a masculine thing. When it's more feminine dominant, sex is seen as sacred, and that isn't done. That's one of the ways it was explained. Try stopping and getting involved whenever you see a cop pulling someone over, and there's a good chance for a negative outcome, Rick said. Well, I wouldn't do that. I still don't think that she deserved to get shot in the face. I'm going to keep saying it. Democrats had those files for 4 years, lady. Yeah, and I think it was wrong that they didn't do anything about it, too. Those 2 things can be true at once, you know? It's really interesting to me that instead of being like, "Wow, Trump is not doing any of the things he said he would do. He is starting wars with other country. He said he wouldn't do that." It's really interesting that instead of that, you jump behind in the chat. I hope you have a great day. Oh, Homer, you too. I am very behind. I need to get off of here in 10 minutes. Um I'm sorry, but right now the United States is holding the worst country in the world, Clint. Yeah, Clint, I understand why a lot of people don't like us, and that's another thing that's concerning. I worry about like uh, what he's doing right now is possibly going to cause, I mean, possibly, it's going to cause long-term damage. Like our grandchildren will be affected by the shit Trump is doing. Oh my God, him saying whether they like it or not about Greenland, that's crazy dictator shit. They don't want him to overtake Greenland. Anybody who's okay with that, you're okay with a dictator. I never thought that I would say he is fascist. And now I'm woman enough to admit people saw something that I didn't see before. He is fucking fascist. How is this not fascism? Complete authoritarian overreach under the guise of like strong national pride, which I'm all about. Like real, true national pride would consist of standing up against things that are unconstitutional happening over and over on our country. I think TJ Sabula is a true patriot. And anybody who, is willing to not be an NPC and see things like it's possible that he just totally spazzed out. Carl Young, yes, Benny. It's the possible. Did I say the wrong name, Carl Young? I know I said Young. It's possible he just spazzed out, didn't remember training. He's been doing this for 10 years. He just put himself in front of the car. Like we all have moments where we make choices that are like fucking stupid. He literally didn't even get knocked over by the car. It's just so interesting. If this exact same thing was like turned around, then people would see, yeah, like literally that hood is so high on a Honda Pilot and he's like reaching across it. He literally goes like this and you can see his body leaning over. And that's what I started to say earlier. Daddy Wells, he's like folded over. He's like leaning over. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And I've seen people on the left say, that advice from Lewis guy, he said it. He like, it looks like he's leaning over so he can shoot in the windshield. And even though I'm not somebody that would be doing what Renee was doing, it still is concerning to me that that would happen at 9:40 a.m. If he was completely justified, why did our own Christine Ohm say that they were stuck in snow and she came up on them and was ramming them? It was all complete. lies. Like, why do they have to lie so much? And it's like they're just trying to make people more divided the more that they lie. I understand why basketball has a men's league and a women's league. Um, chess, do you mean chess, Mark? You said chest. Women need to acknowledge that they aren't equal and that men allow them to play pretend. Ooh. Yeah, I agree, Mike. We're better than you because we don't commit 93% of violent crimes. And when you give life, even if you don't in your lifetime, when you are built for that, you tend to have more maternal instincts. And that's what makes the world civilized. If there wasn't women that cared, you'd all be walking around raping each other. Seriously, you're fucking savages. And then you try to like act like we're less than when it's like, I'm sorry, if you are a man and the die is cast, you're different. There are definitely men who aren't talking about all you trolls. My cat is a mouser that lives outside. I'm not a crazy cat lady. My cat lives in a fucking doghouse. We gave him a bath to get him to stay inside. He can't chill the fuck out inside. Even though he did for a year. He was an indoor cat for a year. We found him outside and then he's like, now I want to be outside half the time. She never should have been there. Right. I can say she never should have been there. I agree. She never should have been there. She shouldn't. I think these groups that are possibly paying people to agitate need to be looked into. And I know Trump said that too. I don't think she should have been there. I don't think that she should have been shot 3 times. See how 2 things can be true at once? And I'm not a fan of leftist agitators, but now I'm starting to think how many provocateurs were involved when we heard about the George Floyd riots and people were destroying small businesses. Because recently there was a person who came and burned a flag and people were calling him out. This was in Minnesota. They're like, fuck you. That is horrible. Like people protesting ICE, they didn't believe in burning that flag. He burns the flag and he makes a beeline and exit. And and people were following him, asking him. He had a mask on, of course, sunglasses, and a hat, and a mask. And they were like, well, who are you? You're making us all look bad. Like, who are you? Why would you do that and just leave? And he was like, the way he was walking, I guess it was obvious he didn't know where he was going. They're like, so you don't even know where you parked your car because you don't know where you're at because you're not from here. We know about you. We remember people like you from George Floyd, remember? And like, then I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I've been manipulated." You can't believe anything, you know what I mean? We've all seen probably most of us have seen the way, like, CNN would literally take things out of context. Um, that's one reason I was just always like, I'm not gonna hate anybody. I didn't hate Biden. I never hated Trump. Um, that's what they want. They wanna, like, make you emotional and take over your life and energy harvest. Oh, yeah, he's such a bad shot, he had to lean over. The other officers could have gotten dragged because he was having that's another reason, Cal. I don't think that he was doing the right thing shooting somebody like that when his fellow officer was right there. He could have hurt him more. Nobody answers my question about what if her car, after she was incapacitated, killed somebody else. Would you then see how egregious it was? Because that's one reason they nail it in their heads. Don't shoot people driving cars because it could make them hurt other people. It just creates more chaos. Um, and I don't he's leaning over, you can see it in the footage. Did you see Anna Kasparian destroy Pearl on stage? Jason, yes, I was gonna make a video about it. It killed me how they don't acknowledge Kentucky was the first state to enact default 50-50 custody and divorce, and then 5 other states have followed where it's like all the time it's default, you get 50-50 custody, man or woman, during divorce cases, and, I don't know why these men's rights people don't talk about that and try to make it like I guess other states do that. It's just not an explicit law. That's what I read yesterday, but like nobody ever talks about and that's what all the good progressive things about Kentucky are never talked about. Clearly, we have some good people here. Massey is like the only one of the only, if not the only real principled politician left, I feel like. It came across that way. The Dice Cast, how are you doing? Riley, you are the epitome of incel. Yeah, I think that's what's going on with a lot of these. And like recently there was somebody, I guess, on the diary of a CEO. I don't know if it was recent, but a lot of people were covering it, where he was basically saying, like, we need to give we need to give guys women because then they'll be happier. It's like, how about you talk about all the ways men suck and why they're not getting laid as much and how they could do better, and then we'd all be happier. How about that? It's never a talk of men commit 93% of violent crimes. Men are the number one reason why pregnant women die in the US. Men are the number one reason why pregnant women die in the US. Not a medical complication from her pregnancy. A, a intimate partner is the number one reason why pregnant women die in the US. Why is that not treated as some kind of like crisis? Like whenever I was pregnant, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like I think that every pregnant woman should know that. I think that we need to do some work as people, all of our boys, whether or not they're ever going to be husbands or fathers, like we need to help our men become more emotionally intelligent. And I guarantee you that would fall. There wouldn't be, women are going left and dudes are becoming more confused, Riley said. Yeah, it does seem to be a trend that women lean to the left, and then when they're married, they do tend to be conservative. I understand that. I'm a homeschooling mom. I've been around dozens and dozens of other homeschooling families. We used to be a lot more active when my other two kids were young, and now they're in high school. And I just had the one, but not all men want that one thing from women. I don't see the appeal in doing the thing that Diascast said. Yes, there are. I really hate to. I know there's good men, and then it's like I don't wanna generalize, but when they start generalizing women, I do it back. I can do whatever I want, Hookah. Obviously, it's somewhat, interesting to you. You've been here for like a fucking hour. I don't waste my time on people that, I don't like. I can listen to people I don't agree with. That's part of why I'm a critically thinking person who can, like, look at more than just one law that justifies what I want to believe and then see things. Um, Conservative views lay upon insecurities. I just seen like, especially with Trump, I don't know how it couldn't. I'm married for 16 years, Alex. I don't see how it couldn't be more obvious to more people. Like Obama was the president that I was hopeful would follow through on his promises. So it made me wake up to like they're all the same. And that's why I wanted Trump to win because I looked at him as different than a career politician. Like most people that support Trump, right? He's different than them. If anything, he's worse. If anything, he's more in bed with the lobbyists and the corporations that are really controlling our government. And in 2010, I was injured by a medicine. And that's when I really realized our government doesn't care about us. They don't care. No government ever has ever cared about the people that they govern. And so that's why it's so nice to be like in, God's country, farmland. Amish people have it right. They really do. Not that I personally would want to be Amish because I feel like it is a little isolating and too strict. I wouldn't want to be told I couldn't wear red my whole life or I couldn't feel the sun on my skin and everything. But like the reason why they choose not to participate in our society is they saw what, like 200 years ago, where the shit was heading. Like they knew. And being as self-sustainable as possible, building communities. I've seen more and more people talk about this. This was like it would be a dream come true to be able to build a community like that here, where we all have like 10 acres or so. There's plenty of farms being divvied up into estates like that. They usually call them farm estates, like a subdivision of sorts where you have like 7 to 10, sometimes even more acres. You can get enough people next to each other to do that. And it would be like utopia. Alex, nice. Are you happily married or mostly enduring? Mostly happily married and sometimes enduring. That's how it is for everybody, I think. Devin, when's voter ID come into play, we will actually be able to choose good people from then on. Mark, more women unalive their children than men. Mark, that's like saying more male pilots crash planes than female pilots. Do you get what I'm saying? Because there's more male pilots. There's more women taking care of children. So it's unfortunate. I'm not trying to make excuses for it. It's disgusting and tragic when it happens, but there's more children under more women's care. So therefore it happens more. I hope you can get that through your head. It's just like, see what I mean? It's like, and it is true though, like, even if you, like, make up like, women really do crash planes less, we have good hand-eye coordination. But you understand what I'm saying? There's more men flying planes, therefore more planes will be crashed by men. That whole like, I don't understand why so many people more women hurt children. Yeah, because 'cause y'all don't take care of your children 80% of the time. Okay, hear about the orange criminal who married an immigrant, had an anchor baby, knocked a huge gaping hole in, like, his government housing, the biggest welfare queen ever. Jason, I wish I could pin that. Harris mocked God. I didn't want Kamala to win if that's who you're talking about, Mark. I didn't want him to win. He was talking about some abortion. Joe said, libertarian socialism is the way. Inertia. I just I do believe in libertarian ideals. I just think there's too many stupid people. I hate to say that. I know that sounds so incredibly negative, but it's true. And I look take a look at one of my chats when I put Trump in the title or something. Or this doesn't even have Trump in the title. But anyways, there's too many, maybe I shouldn't say that. There's too many like selfish people. They've made, especially Americans. That's what I'm talking about in Kentucky. There's more community minded people, I feel like. They've made us like want to only think about ourselves and what serves us. And it's bigger than that. You're not ever going to grow as a person if you don't serve others. The best feeling in the world is to serve others. Here, the Amish wouldn't want you anyway. You're too hateful and judgmental. You're an unstable, cruel person. Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to be an Amish person anyways. I would go around asking all the girls if they were okay or if they've been touched at night because they don't even tell their girls what a period are. And some of them are molested to the point where they get pregnant. They don't even know what that is because they literally don't tell them about it. And then they take their baby after they birth them and like adopt them out to another Amish community. This is the stuff that I heard in Cults to Consciousness is the YouTube channel. She interviews people who have escaped. So no, I wouldn't want to be a part of an Amish community. People like think that they're all the salt of the earth. Some of them are. My experience has been Mennonites are where it's at. Amish people can be extremely offstandish. If they're not at a business in a touristy location, half of the time they won't even talk to you. They'll stare at you. They'll make eye contact with you and stare you down like you aren't supposed to be here. They treat you like you think you would be treated by people that think that they're the only ones going to heaven because of the way they live, and everybody that lives like you is not. Sounds a little familiar, right? I'm sorry, I've never taken, if you think you're a chosen person, good for you, but, well, my mother hurt me and she said to me, "So more power to me," the Diaz cast said. Aw, that makes me sad when people say they're but I do get it, trust me, I get it, when people say that about their parents who have passed, like Jeanette McCurdy. Oh, Benny, that's I'm glad that I made your morning. Thank you for saying that. That's really sweet. Jason, who's running Venezuela? Trump doesn't know. Rubio doesn't know. Miller doesn't know. Maybe they're running Venezuela through Zoom or smoke signals. That was still the cartels for sure, Jason. He took one man. It's the cartels. And I forget her name. What's the name of the lady that just gave him her Nobel Peace Prize? Oh my gosh. Yes, you need critical thinking so you can look at statistics and percentages, Cal said. Yes, and even with statistics, you have to be like somewhat of a data analyst. You know what I mean? Like Bill Gates recommends this book, How to Lie with Statistics, because it is easy to do. People are very reactive to anything they view as threatening, Joe said. Yes, that is true. Amish literally shun you if you don't want to stay in the Amish life forever. Yeah, inertia. Oh, Boo Boo, I hope you have a good day if you're still in here. Easy, all I raised three daughters and two stepdaughters, Cal said. That's awesome. So I think it's a lot of the men. I hope it's the men that like have raised daughters. It seems to be maybe not always. I like really get like, the reason why I talk about, number one cause of pregnant women dying in our country is an intimate partner homiciding them. That is insane to me. Um, and I'm not saying that women are perfect and we never have any work to do. It's not like that at all. But if we were the number one cause of men unaliving during the time in their life they were bringing new life to earth, you know what I mean? I think that it would be taken care of. Okay. Amish makes some good ass chocolate though. And Nurse just said, I'm going to go. Glad to see so many people waking up to the truth of the world. God gave me this insight at a young age. We won't be free because of taxes. There's no stopping the power structure, the B system. Yes, Tammy. Yes. And soon I'm going to start my garden and you all will see. I don't just sit around thinking about political stuff all day. People make their own assumptions about a group. It doesn't matter what the reality is. Yes, that is true, Vic. I believe it's a beast system. I do too, Tammy. I do think we're in the end of times. I lived in Kentucky. Mark said, cool. The Amish could build barns in second. Yes, and really good barns. Trump couldn't take them all out. Our Venezuela would be in total chaos. It's going to be a slow transition to a regular government, Cal said. That's a good point. Mark, the Amish are never afraid of COVID because they don't own television sets. What happened to Vivek? Oh, he was on the receiving end of pure MAGA hate. Oh yeah, Jason, that was awful. They basically told him he's too brown, right? The last I heard, like a month or so ago, he was basically like heckled out of It was funny the way he made the speech, and then like JD Vance got up on the stage, and it was like Vivek was talking about your wife and children. I can't. Self-Made Man by Nora Vincent. No, I have not heard of that book, Mark. Would you recommend it? I need to get back into reading books. Young women are lied to about abortion and then can't change sides after without admitting they volunteered to have a child terminated. It's the provider's fault, Joey said. Oh, yeah, I'm pro-life, but for myself, I mean, I don't have a uterus anymore. I had a hysterectomy, but in this crazy world, like what's happened now, I turned pro-choice because I don't like how the laws are contorted. So where a woman having a miscarriage can't get a DNC in certain states now, and that is inexcusable. I think it's part of the divide and conquer. They could have had doctors help write these laws so women weren't suffering like that, you know? Is there anyone on earth that she doesn't hate? Mark said. Are you talking about me? Um, okay. Love you guys. I gotta get going. I hope you have a good day. Foreign Faction by Kolar. Oh, Stone Papa Smurf, I hope you're doing well. Love you guys. Bye.